It's almost that time of the year again, isn't it? Big, lofty goals, big, hefty promises made for ourselves and for others around us that this is what and what we will achieve throughout the next year. And absolutely no way to back it up even until February or March. We all know that. But why does that happen though? Why do most people fail to follow up on all the resolutions and all the goals and all the promises they come up with around New Year's? Today, I want to talk about 4 reasons why this happens. Reason number 1 is especially relevant for the modern human being. Okay, so the fourth reason why most of us are not able to stick with our resolutions is the fact that we come up with goals, we come up with statements, but not with game plans. Yes, that is a very important distinction. A goal is not a game plan. A goal could be simply a statement such as, I'm going to start a YouTube channel this year. But a game plan would actually mean you answering so many different questions around that one statement. For example, why do you want to start a YouTube channel? What will be your definition of done? Does it literally mean just starting a channel, or does it mean having 20 videos uploaded on the channel? By when do you want to finish starting the YouTube channel, etc., etc.? There could be so many host of different questions that you literally need to answer so that you can actually execute a game plan around your goal. My friend Rocco Jarman recently shared a SMART goals diagram with me, which is nothing but a list of 6 questions, a hexagon, which has 6 statements that you need to come up with to actually start calling your statement into a SMART goal, into a game plan. Now, the 6 questions that are appearing on your screen right now are, I want to start this thing so that I can achieve this. By when will I do this? What will be my definition of done? What are the different dependencies which will be required to actually go ahead and accomplish it? And what is my alignment? Why does this statement, why does this goal give more meaning to my life? Now, these are fundamentally important questions. These are fundamentally important statements that you need to support your core statement with, your core goal with, to actually come up with a game plan to execute your goal. Now, this diagram is available for a free download via a link down below in the description. Make sure you check it out and run with it. Reason number 3 as to why most resolutions fail is the fact that most of us are not able to take into account the emergence of life that has not happened yet. What do I mean by that? You draft your goals when you are around November or December, but there is no way that you can have some insights about the future, but you cannot predict the future. Of course, right? You can have insights about what might happen, but when life actually emerges, you are almost left clueless if you keep holding yourself back to the promises and to the goals that you made at the very start of the year and you almost carved it in stone. You remember that age-old quote, no man steps in the same river twice, for it's not the same river and it's not the same man. People change, life changes, you change. And therefore what you need to do is to incorporate regular feedbacks, regular checks, regular assessments of the goals you had made earlier and keep iterating on them, keep refining them. That is the need of the hour. Because if you don't do that, our life anyway, especially in the modern age, is changing so much that if you do not take feedbacks and emergence into account, there is almost no way that you can actually follow up on the goals that you had set for yourself, that almost a different person had set for yourself. And when we talk about instead of setting and forgetting, iterate and refine, this is literally the core idea behind the New Year's resolutions course that myself and Rocco Jarman have come up with. The course is already live. You can check them out from the links available down below in the description. There are 2 versions of the course, by the way. Rocco's version is available purely in English. My version is in English because in the free flow of recording the course, 5% of time I ended up speaking things in Hindi. Even if you do not understand Hindi, you can understand the course purely from your understanding of English. But yes, Rocco's version is pure English. My version is in English. The course is live. It's available down below in the description. You can check them out. And literally, if you implement what we have talked about, both the courses are about tips and tricks and tools and practices to actually put all of this into account. Regular feedbacks, taking care of all the cycles that you will invariably go through throughout your year, and helping you actually come up with better framing of your goals, better framing of your reassessments and your feedbacks that you will invariably have to do throughout the year. I think it's a game-changing course. You should check it out. And if you actually implement it, I can guarantee that the 2 reasons that we've talked about, you will definitely overcome them, and you'll also overcome the two more reasons that we're yet to talk about in this video. So now let's actually jump into that. The next reason is ideal self versus real self. Almost always when we're coming up with New Year's resolutions, we are doing it around December or November for most of the people. And most likely that time of the year is slightly lighter for a lot of people, in the sense that if you're in a school or a college, studies are almost wrapping up, you have a few vacation days coming forward. If you are an office worker, if you are a business owner, etc., you're already maybe planning for the end of year vacations, or work is at least light in some sense. And therefore the self that comes up with goals is the ideal self. It could be the ideal self. It could imagine things like, man, I'm a really lazy person, I have so much free time. Why wasn't I reading all the books that Chetan has been recommending on the Learning Playground? In fact, why have I not been watching all the different videos that Chetan has been uploading on the Learning Playground? I'm a really lazy fellow. You know what? Next year, because I'll have all the time in the world, I'm going to read one book every week. I'm going to pick up from all the lists that Chetan has been recommending. I'm going to watch every single video that Chetan has uploaded. And I'm going to be watching at least 2 or 3 different podcasts, 2 or 3 hour-long videos also every single week. I'm going to do all of this. Now, while I'll really appreciate if you actually end up doing all of that, I think you get what I'm trying to say. The real self that appears, let's say in March. Now that real self actually has to implement everything that the ideal self was thinking about. Now just imagine, it's March. It could be the tax season for the office people or the business owners. It could actually be closer to your end of the year exams for people who are going to schools or colleges, etc. And therefore there's no way that the actual real self that appears in March can actually act on everything that the ideal self was dictating in those ideal chill days, right? And that is the conundrum of the ideal self versus the real self. There is no way the ideal self actually can take into account everything that the real self will be taking care of. Just like I mentioned in the emergence point. And therefore, this needs to be taken into account. The real self needs to have a say in the actual goals that you are implementing. Because if you do not do that, the cycle will simply appear again the next year around. Because the real self will almost go apathetic to everything that the ideal self had to say. But that's not true, right? The ideal self, the things that it came up with were not really worthless. It's just that the feedback of the real self also needs to be taken into account. Now that is worth your time. Which brings me to what I consider to be the first and foremost reason why most of us are not able to follow up on most of the New Year's resolutions. And that is almost something which I feel is especially relevant to the modern age, to the internet age that we're living in. The idea is borrowed versus authentic goals. The idea is we do not follow up on our goals because they're not really our own goals. They are not our authentic goals. They are goals that we have borrowed from other people. Maybe you checked out an Instagram reel. Maybe you watched a short on YouTube or on TikTok and the car really appealed to you, or the home really appeared to you, all that, the next job that you think will actually satisfy you because someone else is already doing it, or even for good things, the next book that you really think you should be reading, the podcaster you think you should be watching. A lot of those things are actually borrowed tropes. We borrow it from people around us. They're not our authentic goals. And this is a reason which I feel a lot of people miss out when they are checking out their goals. Are your goals really your own goals? You remember that beautiful movie Fight Club, in which there was a section of the movie, I do not remember the exact thing, but either one of those two, Brad Pitt or Edward Norton, says this beautiful quote: we buy things we don't need with money we don't have to impress people we don't like. I think it was something like that. Now that is a perfect example of a borrowed goal. You may actually come up with a host of things that you think are your own goals, but if you actually sit down with yourself and you're really honest with yourself, you can see that they're not really your goals. And therefore, if they're not your goals, there's almost no way you can actually follow up on them when rubber hits the road, when the going gets tough. And anything worth having is actually tough. So this is the key advice here. Reevaluate your beliefs, reevaluate your audit your beliefs, audit your goals. Because the more you actually become more aware of your own psyche, of your own mind, you will actually keep coming up with things which you would understand that these parts of my psyche, these ambitions that I had been chasing, were actually not really my own goals, were not really actually my authentic dreams. And these, which I've been suppressing, are actually the things that I really want to do. And once you do that, once you actually come up with things that you really want to do from the bottom of your heart, which you are authentically drawn towards, come up with a game plan and get going with it, run with it. That is the key thing that almost everyone misses out. So that's it, you good people of the internet. These are the 4 reasons which I feel are genuinely responsible for why most New Year's resolutions fail by February or March itself. Do you think I missed out on some? Do you think I was wrong or could have been better at some? Let me know down below in the comment section. And of course, if you are not a subscriber of the channel, subscribe. If you have not checked out the course yet, make sure you do that. And I'll see you in the playground soon again. Until next time, peace out.